Expect a lot from us.
These were the scenes in England when Harry Kane scored early on in extra time in what proved to be the decisive goal as England make it through to the quarter-finals with a 2-1 victory over Slovakia after extra time. So much to discuss from that game. Hello and welcome in to the ESPN FC studios. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Frank Leboeuf, Craig Burley and Stevie Nicol. Later on the show, we'll reflect on another impressive display from Spain as they put 4 past Georgia to book a place in the quarterfinals. Not so impressive, to say the least, were England, who looked like they were going to go out of the tournament. Slovakia scored early on. England with the same England we've seen all tournament, slow, lethargic, poor, disjointed, but in the end, a bicycle kick from Jude Bellingham in the 94th minute, and then Harry Kane scoring in the opening minute of extra time proved to be enough to see Gareth Southgate off the hook and through to a quarter-final meeting with Switzerland. First, let's get some reaction from Jude Bellingham.
Besides their goal, I thought we were pretty good, to be honest. We had a lot of control. We got into really good areas. We were dangerous. I think we still had 1 or 2 moments where we could be a little bit more clinical, but in general, I thought it was a good performance from us. And obviously, the main thing that we done was showed character, and that's something that, you know, I think in the qualifying games it's difficult to replicate because the opposition sometimes are of a different level and they come to Wembley with a different style, for example. And also there's a lot of chances to redeem it if you don't get a great result. But I think in knockout football, when you can produce a moment like that and everyone kind of looks around at each other and realises, wow, that's the spirit we actually have got in that team, it can help a lot. But also you don't experience things like that if you don't have the adversity of the 2 draws, if you don't have the adversity of going 1-0 down. So yeah, it's brilliant because it shows a reaction.
That, I can almost guarantee, is the most positive thing you're going to hear about England throughout this show as Julien Laurent joins us as well. They were so lucky, Craig.
Well, that guy, Bellingham, saved Southgate's bacon. There's no doubt about it. The knives are probably still out, but they were sharpened somewhat, as every journalist had to rewrite their piece because it was they were going to get slammed. Don't say this very often about a team in a quarter-final, but this was a magnificent piece of skill. And we covering La Liga every week have seen this from Jude Bellingham, even in games like this Euros where he's been quiet and England have been poor, and even at times when Real Madrid have been poor, he has done the most amazing things and it's why he's one of the stars, the young stars of the modern game. But England, although they're in a quarter-final, have been embarrassingly poor performances in every game. Poor tactics, poor team selection, poor substitutions. And I include the ones that he got away with today. I mean, no changes at half-time. What? Really? Cole Palmer comes on, I get that, 66 minutes. Eze, 84. Ivan Toney, 93 and a half.
Yep.
And by the way, he'll say, well, that was okay. It worked for me, but come on. So, you know, England, again, this is not a Scottish angle. This is an honest angle. I repeat myself, if it wasn't for this easy pathway thus far, and I give Slovakia a lot of credit, you know, but they're 40-odd places behind in the FIFA rankings. They're very limited. I give them so much credit. But if it wasn't for this pathway, England would be out, because thus far in this competition, they have been garbage.
Well, they haven't been garbage at making other teams look much better than them. We saw it again with Slovenia, Slovakia, Denmark, second half Serbia. Yeah. It's again and again. It's the same slow, lethargic play. No connection in the final third. That Bellingham shot was their first on target. That sums it all up.
It's kind of hard to figure out where to start. And I guess you've got to start with the manager. You know, the fact that he went with his tried and trusted at the start of the game was okay, I get it. I understand it. The group stages were horrible, but it's a different ball game, different animal. As Craig said, to be that bad in the first half and to come back out in the start of the second with no changes is absolutely scary. I'm sorry. That is not acceptable. You know, you've had 3.5 games to get some rhythm, to get some form, to get some chances, to get some goals, and you've come up blank again. but you keep it the way it is. I mean, Southgate, really. And if I can fast forward to extra time, when they go ahead at extra time, the one thing that they've been guilty of, England, when they've gone ahead, since Southgate was there, is drop in way too deep. Now, that's when the manager has to be on the sideline screaming at them to get up.
Right.
You don't need to have done all your coaching badges to figure that one out. But where was he? He sat in his chair, just letting it all happen. And they're all sat in the edge of the box. And there was a couple of close calls just because they're sitting in their own box. I mean, listen, they're through. It's to do with Jude Bellingham. For me, I guess it's 50-50. Southgate's been terrible. His players have been terrible. As bad as the decision Southgate's made, the players have been as bad, except Bellingham.
Just quickly before the boys react, I sort of skipped that interview that we ran at the top. Bellingham, what game is he talking about? Frankie?
You don't see the same game.
I mean, I'll give them their due. England, they've got the siege mentality, more than about everybody and seeing this was a great, they've got this siege, they've fixed the bayonet and going, you're saying we're playing badly? We're playing really well. That was incredible.
Now, as you said, it's coming from a French guy, but it's an honest answer about what I saw today. I was so surprised by the poverty of their football. And Jude Bellingham wasn't at the level that we used to see him. So everybody's going to forget because the bicycle goal and the fact that he saved a nation with that goal is going to erase everything. And everybody for a decade is going to see that goal, this beautiful goal. But otherwise, I didn't see anything that I wanted to see. I wanted to see a reaction from that team that you want to go on the knockout stages. And again, it could have been worse. On the goal of Trent, and he scored, Gay makes a foul, and if he falls, it's a penalty and a second yellow card. Therefore, a red card for Gay, and it's a total different game and different ball game. And everything I saw, every time I saw passing the minutes of the game, that England couldn't go there.
No.
And Slovakia, I would have been upset if I was a Slovakian supporter. I say, you were fantastic for 94 minutes. Why you couldn't hold 1 minute more, But that's football. That's the beauty of football. And special players, sometimes they do special actions. And Bellingham and then Kane showed it to the world. But otherwise, that's so poor. I don't see them going through if they keep on working like that.
I suppose the other point, the other changing thing that could have changed the game was that, I can't remember exactly when it was in the second half.
The long shot.
The long shot. And I think that summed England up, was the free kick was taken and they're just completely on a different page, whoever it was, I can't remember, and Pickford is out. And I think that kind of sums England up. That should have been a goal. It was a catastrophic free kick, and it's kind of where they are and where they've been. They're all over the place.
Bellingham, of course, scoring that spectacular goal to push it to extra time. It was 94 minutes and 34 seconds into the game. That's the latest regulation Euro goal by an Englishman. 21 years, 1 day is the youngest Englishman to score in the knockout stages. We've seen 6 stoppage time goals this season from Bellingham for club and country. And don't forget as well the Valencia one, which got chalked off, which shouldn't have been either, when the ref blew the whistle for full time. And as I mentioned, that goal was England's first shot of the match. Jules, I promise I'll come to you in a minute. I just want to get it from an ex-professional's point of view. Is that why you leave Jude Bellingham on, despite the fact he did nothing in the game? Because someone like that, with that skill, can produce that sort of moment.
Absolutely. Listen, generally, I think Gareth Southgate's lucky because generally, the question you're asking, usually a team has a couple of players who, unless they've lost a leg, they have to stay on because as bad as they've been, as much as they may not have been in the game, you need a goal from nothing. And you need players that can do that. And actually, if there's one thing you can say about England, they've actually got more than Jude Bellingham. And when I say that about players that can produce something from nothing. So he's lucky. We say it all the time. It doesn't matter how good or how bad you are, but if you've got some quality, you can always pull it out. And if you ever want an example of that, you've just seen it today.
What were you going to give him, 2 out of 10 before he scored?
Oh, no, I was ready to give him a 2, between 2 or 3. And I was talking with Louise, the producer of today's show, and she texted me, said, "What do you want to give him? 2?" I said, "Well, not anymore because he scored at that time."
Yes, yeah.
I say nobody's going to be nobody's going to care about my mark right now. It's going to be a 10 out of 10 because he saved a nation, and everything is going to be, as I said, erased by his magnificent bicycle kick. And that's crazy. That's football. That's the beauty of football. It's what I like about it. The surprise is, even if you are bad, at some point you can be the hero. So from 0, let's say, or 2 or 3 to hero. But that's Jude Bellingham. I mean, throughout the season, we saw many times where he disappeared.
Yes.
And it wasn't the Bellingham of the beginning of the season. But by some special thing, because he's a special player, he comes back to the front page.
We watched the Clásicos together, Craig. We were laughing, weren't we, when we saw him score those goals, obviously, at Montjuic against Barcelona, because he's kind of writing his own fairy tale here.
Yeah, particularly in the first 6 months of the season or so, and then he obviously, you know, had a little period where he went a little bit flat for him, which was to be expected. But England haven't found a way to get him influencing the game, or Foden, or Saka, or Harry Kane. Any of them, they haven't found a balance that's been able to get them really influencing the game for long periods, for sustained periods where they've got the opposition on the back foot for 10 and 15-minute periods where they can't get out. Like we see Man City doing, Real Madrid, Arsenal this season, where we've seen them play at home against, you know, mid-table, mediocre Premier League teams, and they can't get a touch. Well, England have played mediocre countries, and yet we're in a scenario where they're allowing these teams to look good. And it's on the man. I think it's on the manager. I really do. I think it's his approach, it's his tactics, it's his team selection, and there's no way they should be allowing the amount of pressure that they've been put under by the likes of the teams that they've played.
Jules, the thing that frustrates England fans, obviously, that today wasn't an anomaly. This is expected now with England to play this badly.
Yeah, and we didn't have to wait for today to know that Southgate is useless. You know, as a head coach, that those players don't know how to play, don't know how to build up their faces, don't know how to press, they don't know any of that. And this is not new, like you said. We've seen that through this whole tournament. I really thought today they would improve. I really thought to start Mainu, for example, was the start of something better. And actually, we could even argue that this was maybe the worst first half in this tournament, even worse than what we've seen so far. And the only thing I think maybe is the most important now is that they cannot be in denial, because that Jude Bellingham interview that we played, he's just lying completely. He's lying to himself, he's lying to us, to the fans, because this is not the reality. This is not the truth. They didn't play well today. They didn't control anything, really. Yes, they had a lot of the ball, but they had 0 shot on target until his goal. They didn't create anything. There was, again, no structure in their play. There was just nothing. We hardly saw Foden passing the ball to one of the other attackers. Saka was poor. Bellingham was poor. Kane was terrible. Even defensively, where before we could have said, okay, maybe this is the only positive so far. Defensively, they were shocking tonight. Shocking. I mean, Walker on that right-hand side, the Slovakians kept going. It was like the freeway. It was just ridiculous. So as long as they're not in denial, and they are objective on how bad they've been today, and it's a miracle, really, that they've qualified, I'm okay with it.
It's this point in the show that I have to shoehorn Manchester United in again.
Oh, wow. Oh, there we are. 13 minutes in. There we
What a
are.
surprise.
There we go.
Oh, well, the reason,
Cristiano Ronaldo as well for the...
well, no, the reason I do that is I think the buck here stops with the manager.
Yeah.
England manager, who is in the England job and has done reasonably well with where he's taken them. But again, I think there's reasons for that. He was allegedly Ineos's main man to take over one of the biggest clubs on the planet, one of the biggest jobs, one of the most difficult jobs. Gareth Southgate, identified by Ineos. If you're a Man United fan watching this, that's telling you, like, I don't think they've got many more brains than the Glazers when it comes to picking people. Because Southgate at the end of this game said, in a couple of interviews, I never felt we were going to lose this game. 93. You never, what?
Did you really?
Yes. He said, I just always had a feeling we were going to get back in.
Oh, good. I'm glad you had the feeling.
Did you see the video of the England fans that actually left?
Yeah, that left. Yeah, they could hear the roar.
They just had enough. But, you know, I'm
What does it tell you about Southgate that he didn't make any changes at half-time?
wow.
he's lost.
Do you think he's scared? Like,
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought he's gone, right, I took Kane and Foden and Saka off, but it was quite deep and it didn't really mean that much. But this is a knockout. Do I take off one of that four? Or do I wonder if he just didn't want to make a change. Because I can't see any other reason.
Well,
I can't see any other reason.
As you said, you keep a player because you think that at some point he's going to do something special. As to we were talking about Bellingham. You think that Saka at some point, or Foden, would have done something. But we saw throughout the game and throughout the previous game that it doesn't happen. And players like Palmer can take over and be better. So why do you hesitate? Is that because you're incompetent or because you don't see it or because you're scared? I don't know. Maybe the former coach can tell us. But I was amazed. You know what? I can compare with Didier Deschamps. You can say whatever you want about the way he makes his team play, but that's the way he wants them to play. And he has no fear whatsoever to change anybody if he doesn't feel.
The worst thing that's going to happen in this tournament, I think, is England to go deep, real deep now.
Switzerland will beat them.
And everybody, no, and I say this because I don't mean this badly on Southgate, but the people will come out and say, "Wow, this is a great job." It's not. It's not. England for me, it's a bit. England for me are a side that if they're well, I'm not saying they're the best side in Europe. I'm not saying that because they have problematic areas. But if they were better coached by a real quality manager, I think they would be certainly playing a lot better than this and making the games a lot easier. 100%. And I kind of worry a little bit that it'll be papered over again if they get to like they have a Euro Championships final, a World Cup semi-final, where, by the way, for the sake of repeating myself, the Dalic at Croatia completely outflanked him in that game. And he was left, Gareth Southgate, with his coaches staring into the abyss, didn't know how to change it. And I just think we would be papering over a multitude of cracks within the way he goes about it if England go deep.
Here's the thing, to go back to your question. Sometimes you actually ask a question there really isn't an answer to it.
Why he didn't make changes at half-time?
Because not just that. You've asked about 3 or 4 questions already in the space of 17 minutes, where everybody's dumbfounded and we can't. You're asking, what's Gareth Southgate's thinking? What an impossible question that is. All the things that we've said are all things that we're looking at a game thinking, he's got to change it. Why is he doing that? Right. Why would you not do this? Why? I mean, it is just question after question after question. So to try and get inside this guy's head and think why he does or doesn't do things is almost impossible. That's how far away from the so-called top coaches that this guy really is.
It's interesting, though, it's not just him. The players are substandard.
Absolutely.
You look at Harry Kane's performance in the 90 minutes, obviously didn't do much, had that header put wide, obviously then scores at the start of extra time. But it's players like that, surely your captain, your leader on the pitch, that you need to be that driving force.
They should, but they seem to be lost. Right? They don't know what to do. They don't know how to react. And there is a mix of feelings when you are one down, where you want to go for it, but that you have to be patient. But at the same time, you have the anxiety throughout the minutes and the minutes going on. So you have to use your experience and make sure that you have the captain, but also the skipper, meaning the coach of the team, who tells you what to do. Because it is what it is. The coach, as you mentioned before, he has to tell you, okay, guys, we play higher, like 10 yards higher on the field, and you make sure that you go on the side, and the message goes quickly. But it seems to be that you have no messages because he doesn't know what to do.
Right.
And players, they've tried stuff, they're not good, so they have their responsibilities, and they're in the middle of the park. They are in the middle of the battle. So sometimes it's hard to think through and to see clearly the game. So they need that help by the coach. And obviously
they have got so many people that stuff Frank was talking about there about when you're on the field, you need to take care of things that are happening at the time that go against maybe what you've been told. But to have so many players who look as though they're lost is why you don't get any reaction at all on the field. And that is down to the manager. The manager, yes, he has to pick the right team and he has to get the tactics, but he also has to get everybody in a frame of mind to go and succeed. And every single time that England have stepped on the field, they haven't had that. And more importantly, any time that it's gone wrong, when you're looking for something to happen, nothing seems to happen.
Has Kane changed his game in this Euros?
Do you think he's fit?
Well, how many times have we seen
He's not right, is he? Clearly.
Well, how many times have we seen him? We saw it once today, well, at least once. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, because there's been a lot of games. When he dropped a little deeper and he played that great ball, the switchy play for Trippier, that Foden scored, he was offside. That's kind of what we expect sometimes from Harry Kane, or a lot from Harry Kane. It was a great ball, came short, switched to play. Slovakia was stretched. Foden was brain dead. He just had to hold his run. He stepped offside. But how many times have we seen Harry Kane do that during games? I don't remember him doing it a lot. Now, sometimes he does it a little bit too much, and you think, right, you don't need to come that deep. But quite a lot of times for Spurs, for Bayern, for England, he's dropped it a little bit deeper. Centre-halves don't know whether to come with him or not. And then he gets on the ball, he gets turned, or if the centre-half comes with him, there's a space for somebody to get in. I don't really remember him doing that. Now, it might be because Bellingham's playing as the number 10. I don't know, but...
Do you think it's possible that he puts a pressure on himself because, you know, he went from Spurs to Bayern, never won anything. He didn't win the title with in Bundesliga with Bayern. He knows that they are the favorites, so he wants to win, therefore puts a pressure on himself as a captain, therefore loses his football a little bit. Is that possible?
I don't know. You played, Frank.
Well, I've never been in that position,
But I tell you what, Frank, I tell you what we do know, Frank, is England players are smarting from any criticism that comes their way.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
It's not just Kane. There's Bellingham's been talking in press conference about pylons, he called it. Pylon.
Yes.
That was his exact words.
Yeah.
Well, we know there's going to be a pylon. We know there's pressure. Listen, and so what that's telling me is that there's a lot of media talk behind the scenes. And listen, they're always, you know, we always talk about press, guys. Oh, Johnny so-and-so gave me a 3 out of 10. But you don't make it a big story. And I feel that England,
you don't
behind the scenes, are kind of, I feel it's eating away at them. That people have the audacity to question them.
And Jules, this is the weird thing when you hear English players talk. As Craig said, Jude Bellingham said there's pile-on against us after the group stages. There's a pile-on against the Italians. There's a pile-on against the German performance. This isn't unique to... People aren't more critical in England than they are anywhere else in Europe, yet it seems that the English are smarting more from it than anyone else.
I don't know what planet they live on, really. And we go back to what I was saying earlier about being in denial or, you know, lying to yourself in a way. Because and I think we said it the other day on the show as well, this is not the Care Bear world. You're a professional football player. This is always going to come. You're never going to win every single game in your career. This is not possible. There will be times where the critics are out because you're just not good individually, collectively. Your team is not doing well. Your coach is bad. All of that. The boys have gone through it. Everybody, every player is going to go through it at some point in his career. And maybe in previous tournaments, which, by the way, Bellingham hasn't played many, but for the others, maybe because things were a bit better, semi-final, final, quarterfinal in Qatar against the French. But so maybe the critics were not as heavy as this, because this has been by far the worst tournament since Euro 2016, really. And today it felt very much like the Iceland of 2016. That was Slovakia today.
Yep.
For 30 seconds at the end, this is it. This is exactly the same scenario. It's the same game. Hodgson is like Southgate. And this is it, really. And we go back all that 8 years ago, really. So I'm not sure where planet they're coming from.
If you want a pile-on, you should have gone to Buenos Aires for 10 years before they won the World Cup. Yep. Messi was getting, and there was only one guy. The one guy was getting most of it, if not all of it. I mean, that's a proper pile-on.
Yes.
You know that particularly what the South American guys were getting with the pressure down there, Brazil, Argentina, so forth and so forth. That's before you even get to countries that are way more successful than England: France, Germany, Italy, and all these others. So it's almost like an entitlement. I do feel that some of these players feel entitled. And that's strange, because most of them, it would seem, the clubs are down to earth, kind of, rounded guys. But it seems this tournament is almost like an entitlement about, listen, just let us do and don't criticise us. And actually, it's not a good look.
Is that message coming for the staff? Because as players, You know, we listened to Bellingham talking nonsense about how well they played, but he can't actually believe that. And as players, you don't play at this level unless you understand when you're doing okay or you're not. And when you're not doing okay and you get pelters, that doesn't upset you because you know you're not doing well. It's when you're actually doing well and people are criticising you, then it's like, hold on a second, why are you criticising? Not when you're playing like this. But if they don't understand how bad they are, where's that coming from? Is it the staff? Keep telling them that, listen, don't worry. You know, we've heard Southgate in particular. Every time he's been on, he said how difficult it is to beat anybody in international football.
Yeah.
So if he's firing that message on all the time, is it in their head? Are they thinking, oh, this is hard. Why are they going to go at us?
So you've got 6 days now to prepare for Switzerland.
Oh, get a dartboard.
We know
Get your dartboard out. Get all the players' names, put it on into a dart, throw it at the board.
we know that
See who sticks.
Gay's not on the board. Obviously, he's suspended. There'll be one change.
Konza Gomez
There's-
of Dunk.
There's no reason from what we've seen that Southgate will do anything else but put out that same team.
That's a worry, isn't it?
Well, it wouldn't be a surprise.
Well,
though. It wouldn't be a
So probably going to be the same front four.
Yep.
Unless he does play Bukayo Saka at left back or left wing back, he might change the shape. I don't know. No idea. I would think Mino would play with Declan Rice. I don't think there's much debate about that.
Rightfully, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, not blaming this on any of the youngsters with limited experience. But even before this tournament started, talking about Luke Shaw maybe being fit for this game, who's not played since February.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of mindset is that? And you go, look, you've not played, you've had a few training sessions, go and play in the quarterfinals of a Euros. That kind of talk, you know, it's almost like saying, yeah, the rest of them not very good, going to play this guy. But this talk about the media against us is just a complete no-no. The media would be splattering all the greatest stuff on the planet if England play great and win this thing. They're out for, when you play badly, they're out for a headline. And England are giving them certainly enough ammunition at the moment. But Stevie and I talked about the Italy-Switzerland game, how we didn't believe Italy are a very good side, and I think that was shown. They're absolutely bang average. Switzerland are no world beaters, but they've got good game nous, good understanding of game awareness. And at the moment, I still would fancy the way the Swiss are playing over the way the English are playing.
Yeah, if it wasn't England on the name and you saw these 4 games, well, they haven't got a chance.
No, of course they're not. And if they play like that, they won't have a chance against the Swiss because, as you mentioned, Craig, they're very solid. They know exactly where they go. They have a tactic, and the coach is very influential in that matter. And so far, they've been perfect. I mean, close to perfect. They've done what they had to do, what everybody was expecting, which is far away from the English squad. So, you know, I see England, yesterday I said in my prediction that England will go to the final. But because I really thought, like everybody else, they're going to wake up. Like Jules said, that today is going to be a knockout stages is different than the group stages. But I didn't see that, and so I don't see them going through against the Swiss if they carry on like that.
Unless he makes changes.
He's not going to.
Well, they're not going through then.
Well, isn't it? That's it. Like, why?
Well, we're back to where we
what have we
started.
seen?
We're back to where we started.
Exactly.
Is he going to go again with Saka on one side and Foden on the other?
Of course he is.
That has not worked at all. That's 4 games on the trot. That it's not only not worked, it's been atrocious.
Yeah.
And as bad as most of them have been, there's no way you start the next game without Cole Palmer. Because he came on.
We're going back to half time.
He looked like
we're almost back
he looked
to.
as though he was in a different
If
league
you don't
to the
make
rest
changes
of
at
them.
half time after that first half, you're never going to make changes.
So there's no way he wasn't
to.
making changes.
There
was
crazy.
no way. It was like, right.
Yeah.
It was actually quite intriguing, wasn't it, to sit and go, right, I wonder who it's going to be.
And then Ian Dark goes, no change. And you're like,
Even Ian went, well, I can't believe I'm saying it. But, you know, look, it's not just, this is the from England perspective, it's not just that this magnificently talented front line, and it is not functioning properly at the back.
yeah.
So even Slovakia, who again, I use the phrase limited, and they are, they took the goal well. How many balls were they able to fizz across that 6-yard box, particularly in the first half, even in injury time and extra time, they were still a threat, crosses into the box. You know, this England defence, it looks wobbly as well. And then people say, well, the defensive record in this competition thus far has been pretty good, and it has. But again, you know, when the opposition are not offering up too much, you're going to look better than you are. So I think his problems are absolutely at both ends of the field.
Let's just remind you then how the bracket looks after today's result. Of course, after knocking out Italy, we know that it will be Switzerland against England. That is next Saturday. Meanwhile, it's time tomorrow. It's tomorrow month? No, Tuesday.
No, tomorrow is France.
Yeah, tomorrow's France. Yeah, Tuesday we'll see the rest of the bracket completed. Meanwhile, Spain unbeaten so far in the group stages. Of course, 3 wins. That's now 4 wins out of 4. They were tested early on against Georgia, despite the fact they had pretty much all the ball. It would be an own goal that would see Georgia take the lead. Rodri would score just before the break, and then they were brilliant in the second half. Fabian Ruiz continued his fine tournament. Nico Williams is so much fun to watch, took his goal brilliantly, and Danny Olmo would come on to make it 4-1. Yeah, but it was fun. It's like a different sport watching Spain. I know exactly.
But it was fun. It was fun to see Georgia after their qualification and beating a changed Portugal side. But the energy they've got from the crowd and what it means to these players to be at a major tournament for the first time ever as that country is, and then, you know, giving a bloody nose to the Spanish, it was just fantastic. But yeah, Spain didn't panic, and they showed their quality as they have done, you know, in some of the games, particularly this game, particularly the Italy game. We know when they hit the straps, they can create a lot of chances. And as you said, the wide players, Yamal and Nico Williams, just look as if they've got so much invention and energy. And of course, you could argue the best midfielder on the planet at the moment as a guy that does everything in Rodri in there, scoring goals. The Spanish, yeah, I mean, they've got the flaws. I mean, the 2 centre-backs, the 2 lads at the back there that are
French.
Laporte and Lenormand. Just a French ruining everything.
French.
And the ref was French as well.
Stevie, what's interesting, as Craig said, it's been the first bloody nose that they've had in this tournament. And I know it's Georgia, but even so, you're 1-0 down. They stayed calm, they stuck to the game plan, and that's got to bode well, hasn't it, going forward?
Well, exactly. It's as always in a tournament when a team's flying along, you're going to go, okay, what's going to happen when they do get a bloody nose? And we saw it. Nothing changed.
Yeah.
No panic, no change in tactics, just as smooth as silk, getting the ball from back to front, except unlike old Spanish teams, as soon as they hit the halfway line, it just changes gear.
Yeah.
And then of course when you've got Williams and Lamine Yamal, they're turning up playing schoolboy football.
Yeah.
But you know, there's not a care in the world. They're having a go at defenders, and if it doesn't come off, next time he gets it, he's going at him again. And the 2 of them are scaring the life out of fullbacks. Because as a fullback, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If you get too tight, the both first step is so quick. But then if you don't get tight and you stand off, they can pick passes as well.
And there's an end product there, isn't it? It isn't just speed.
I'm just going to say, they're not one-trick ponies. They've got all kinds of different armour. So, and good luck playing against those 2, and then never mind the other 9.
Yeah. You have to compare the first game with the second game, and the idea that the Spanish had, comparing to the emptiness of the English tactic. Let's say, as you said, they conceded the goal, didn't affect them at all. Mm-hmm. They kept on working. The 2 on the side, as we mentioned, Williams and Lamine Yamal, comparing to Foden and Saka. And we can say, same generation, same talent, and we are not talking about non-players against, big stars. They're all stars already. They all proved at the top level that they are fantastic. But the efficiency of that squad at first, and don't forget that we have Morata at front, who've been criticized a lot. But the 2 youngest, they do the job and everything. And I love that. And I love the fact that you talked about the energy of the Georgian. They went for the game, and I want to congratulate my fellow compatriot, Willy Sagnol, the coach of Georgia, because what he did with them was spectacular.
Sure, that means a lot to him.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We'll send him a video for it.
Yeah. No, I'm going to text him after. We text after every game.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, because we are friends. He's the only friend that I have. Yeah, but he's a good friend of mine. And but just
you know Willy Sagnol?
Do I know? Yes, I know. Do you want a picture of him and well, whatever? But what I want to say, is, I love the fact that they have a tactical idea. They keep on working the way they wanted to do, even if they conceded a goal. And that's the big difference that between England and Spain right now. I don't know if they're going to go and win the Euro.
Why not?
I don't know, because
They've got Germany next, obviously.
yeah, that's what it is.
That's
It's
Friday.
kind of a final, and the bracket is complicated. If they win, they will have to play either against Portugal and France, which I think
Maybe. But you have to-
France
you
is
have
not
to-
kicked out
yeah,
tomorrow
careful
by
with
the
your
Belgians.
arrogance.
Yeah, but no, we love Belgium.
Yeah.
They hate us, but we love
Right.
Belgium. But it's going to be hard, we know. But that's what it is for the bracket. So it's still a long way before the final. And I don't know if they can keep on working like that, but they have, for me, the possibility to go to, and they are contenders. They're the good surprise, I would say, even if we expected something good, but they are the very good surprise of this Euro.
Now, those two young lads for Spain are lighting this tournament up,
Brilliant, yeah.
right? Are they better players than Foden and Saka?
No,
I'm not saying they're poorer players, but Foden and Saka have played at a higher level for longer and have way more experience. You could argue that they're as good at the moment, certainly for the clubs.
That's why it's a team game, isn't it?
So why are these two lighting this up, and the two English wide guys are as flat as a pancake?
You tell me.
Well, have they become bad players overnight? Is it the pressure? Is it the media? Or is it the manager? It has to be something. Phil Foden, well, one of the things being is that the Spanish boys are playing in a position that are familiar with their clubs. You could argue Phil Foden is not, but he should be good enough to figure it out. But you get a feeling that watching the game, Southgate's gone to him, go where you want. Just go and sort of do what you want. And he's drifting around and it's not really working. So you have to ask yourself the question, why are the Spanish getting the best out of their key players and the English thus far are not? And that can't be. These players just didn't finish the season and become bad players overnight.
There is another thing, Craig. If you see Cucurella playing for Spain, I mean, it's a different player comparing to what we saw week in, week out with Chelsea. And on the other side, you have Cavaral. They are on top of their football right now, and they support those two guys. You can have question mark today about Trippier and Walker.
Yeah.
And if you feel fragile behind you, you are fragile in your game offensively as well. And it's what you say, Stevie. It's a collective sport. They play all together, so it works because it's the chemistry goes along with all the players, and that's what we see with Spain. It's what we don't see with England.
I just want to get Jules involved because I'm
Well, yes,
he's
yes,
just
yes.
let
Wait, hold on.
Oh, Jules is here, right? Jules.
Frenchman again. French referee.
One too many.
French centre-half playing for Spain. French pundit in the studio. French pundit in Germany.
Let's take it from a French perspective then, Jules. Out of all the other teams, is Spain the one you're most worried about?
I think they've been the best in this tournament, but have they picked maybe a bit too early in the sense that we've rarely seen a team playing great from the first game to the seventh game in a World Cup or in a Euros. Usually you maybe start slowly, you go from strength to strength. And so far, they've been great in every single game. Okay, they were behind today, but it was never in doubt they would come back and win, really, let's be honest here. So this is the only thing. Let's see if they can, what kind of level they can produce against Germany. And then that semi-final should be a tough one too. But so far, they've been by far the best team, yeah.
That's the most. I can't get.
The odds are coming before
Frank,
the game.
Every
It's
week.
before the game, no?
Every day.
This was after the game.
Every
England
day-
are still favourites.
Really?
To win
Oh my
the
God.
I'll tell you what you should
Yes.
do. You want to get that graphic, right, and you want to kick it all the way out to Connecticut as far as you can. That's the biggest load of garbage I think I've ever seen.
Probably the
England are still favourites.
Are you part of that? You
No, I'm not.
decide
No,
for that?
these are bookies.
You're probably the one guy here that knows about betting.
Right.
I know nothing.
Okay.
Right? So the question I have:
Yeah.
Are they only favourites because so many Englishmen
No.
have got blind faith?
No, they are fake. They are fake. Let's right. Think of it as horse racing. Yeah, you've got one race where you've got to jump over fences. England are on the other side of this horse race where they don't have to jump over any
They
fence.
do. They've got to jump over Switzerland.
But their fences aren't as high. for example, as who France have to jump over,
Yeah, but
or Germany have to jump
I
over.
can't get my.
So because of that,
I don't want to linger on this if we don't have to, but I don't understand because even if they jump over Switzerland and whoever they have to do,
Yes.
Austria,
Yep.
or the Netherlands,
so whoever they meet in the final is going to be the big favourite.
Correct.
So why are they still favourites?
Exactly.
Because it dilutes the odds. Because is it going to be Germany? Is it going to be Portugal? Is it going to be France? Is it going to be Spain? So that it's out of
it
those
doesn't
four.
matter.
And the bookies are coming from which country?
This is America. This is ESPN.
American.
This is
Okay.
this is, and if you go to England, it'll be the same as well.
Okay.
And if
Well,
you
I
go to
suppose
France, it'll be the same.
It's a bit like the FIFA rankings. It's utterly irrelevant, really. But I think
If you're betting on England, then
But I think looking at England, it's hard to see how, unless there is some amazingly drastic change in player mindset and
Yeah.
manager mindset and team select. What we know is Switzerland, barring any suspensions or injuries, Switzerland will do
Yes.
what they've been doing.
Yep.
Right, that's what they'll do. Three at the back, they'll be strong, got some pace and power up front, got experience in the middle of the park, got energy in the wing back positions. We know what Switzerland will do. They're efficient and they know what they're about. England at the moment have no idea what they're. I mean, what's fifth game coming up?
Yep.
And he's scratching his head.
Yep.
Fifth game, he still does not know, Frank.
Meanwhile, then, on Monday, we see a next round of matches where France take on Belgium, Portugal taking on Slovenia. Jules, I'm going to start with you. If we just take a look at the predictions that everyone's gone for a France victory. Stevie for a 3-1, Jules 2-0, Craig 3-0. Me and Frank going for a 1-0 win. Everyone's confident, Jules. How simple a task is this for Deschamps' side?
No, I don't think it'd be simple, but France haven't been perfect so far. There've been some issues, whether it's Deschamps' tactics at times, especially against Poland, or the lack of efficiency in front of goal, despite all the chances created. But they've been better than what Belgium have produced, really, let's be honest, in this tournament so far. This is an old rivalry that goes back all the way to 1904 when they first faced each other in
Frank was in that game, yeah, Jules.
And Frank started there at the back instead of Marcel Desailly. But remember what happened at the 2018 World Cup. Remember what happened in the Nations League as well 3 years ago, where France each time won in the semi-finals. So there's a lot at stake, obviously, and they know each other really well. But I think it's normal that the French are slightly favourite.
How you feeling?
Well, a bit concerned about the fact that we have a front line which is very good, but they don't score goals. And it reminds me 2002 with the three top scorer of three different championships, Thierry Henry, David Trezeguet, and help me out, Jules. It's going to come up.
Djibril
Cissé. And we didn't score a goal in 3 games. And I feel a little bit it's like that right now. So if they don't wake up well or find the back of the net, it's going to be something special. And playing against our neighbors, Belgium, is never easy. So we have to respect them. I think what's gonna happen, and I think we have to resolve some details, let's say, but important details in the middle of the park as well. How he's going to play, whether he's going to play with Kante and Tchouaméni, and also Rabiot or not. Or he will decide to put Griezmann maybe and a 10 and maybe 3 at front. I don't know, but we have some concerns. But as Jules said, we were less bad than Belgium.
Yeah, that's you look at the opponents and you've seen nothing really from Belgium that's made you go, oh, they're going to really put up a contest.
We were in one of the weakest groups. They were hanging on against Ukraine.
Even their fans, they booed them.
Yeah, and there was another player who was upset by
Kevin De Bruyne.
Another one throwing all his toys out the pram at anybody suggesting, "Oh, get behind us! We're great." I mean, you look at before even getting to the middle of the park and going forward, because Doku gives him something different, but he's a flash in the pan, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And how the hell he didn't play him on that left side in the first game, Tedesco, was a head scratcher. But you got to look at that back line. Part of it depends who plays. Vertonghen, Wout Vass, Castagna. It's not Courtois in goal. I mean, they are just a very mediocre side, Belgium. And you've got to think a bit like what we've been talking about with England. The French sort of build up into tournaments, generally. Mm-hmm. They haven't been great. If you were saying to me, who's going to get better, France or England? My money's only going to go one way. Mm-hmm. I think the French will sort themselves out, and they're just going to be too strong for this Belgian side. This Belgian side, somebody's going to do the running of Kevin De Bruyne, because he's not going to trot about for 90 minutes, particularly if it's hot. And so that's always a problem defensively. And that, as I say, that back line, I think if Mbappe will play, I think he's going to have a field day.
We'll say thank you very much to Jules. Enjoy the game. Are you going to the game? I assume you're going, Jules, yeah?
Yeah, I'm going tomorrow, yeah, Düsseldorf.
There you have a lovely time. Just to remind you, can hear a lot more from Jules on the latest edition of the Gab and Jules podcast, which will...
Who's doing it tomorrow?
Him and Jules. Him and Gab.
Düsseldorf.
Him and Gab are doing it tomorrow. Meanwhile, taking a look at predictions. We've got coffee. Should we do predictions or should we just forget it? Everyone thinks Portugal's going to win. That's all you need to know, basically. Okay. Looking ahead to the other game. Meanwhile, of course, in Copa America, we saw action last night. Canada through after a 0-0 draw against Chile. Argentina made it 3 wins out of 3. There was a change side, being out Messi not featuring, but getting it done in their tie as we welcome in. Ali's with us, Hercules Gomez as well. Ali, in the end, 3 wins for Argentina. Did we learn anything from last night's victory?
Yeah, they're okay without Lionel Messi for now. They're okay without Lionel Messi in a match against Peru that they just simply have no threat going forward. They don't really have much through the midfield. They can't really defend all that well. So therefore, you expect Argentina to win this sort of matches. And in the case of, let's just assume that Lionel Messi will come back. But if he didn't come back in time for the next match, the solution, I think, was made very clear by Lionel Scaloni, that Angel Di Maria would play a similar role to Lionel Messi in a different way, but a similar role in terms of the positions that he was taking. He was going to be more of the playmaker, and then you would have runners in front of him. And the case yesterday was Lautaro Martinez. I anticipate that Julian Alvarez will come back into the starting lineup. The truth of the matter is that Argentina is really good, with or without Lionel Messi. Of course, they're better with Lionel Messi, but I think what they showed yesterday is that, in fact, in this tournament, they're getting better. They played okay against Canada, did enough to win the match, but as they have advanced in this tournament, as they have continued to play, you see a more consistent level of play from Argentina. They're only getting better. I still think they're the strongest team in this competition.
So Argentina topped the group, Herc. I think no surprises there when you take a look at the other 3 teams. Canada finishing second, though, is a surprise, isn't it?
I guess you could say it's a surprise since we don't really know too much about this Canada team with Jesse Marsch. He just took over the team and he had 2 friendlies. One, he got trounced 4-0 versus the Netherlands, and the other, a very respectable 0-0 versus France. But if you know Jesse Marsch, the system he likes to employ, you know, this high press, this very physical, in your face, full throttle. And you know the talent pool, the players that they have, these players that are technically good, physically gifted, some of these players playing at a great level, and you match the 2 together. And you say, in this group with Peru, who Ali rightfully just explained isn't very good. They're one of the worst team, if not the worst, in all of CONMEBOL, who was relying on a 40-year-old Paulo Guerrero last night to attack or show any type of life in the final third. Never really crossed midfield. Argentina had 75% possession. You know, that's Peru. You know, Chile are long in the tooth. It's a team that still relies on aging superstars like Alexis Sanchez, Edu Vargas, you know, Isla, who's 36 years old, playing down the right-hand side at that right back position. If you know this group, you would have thought maybe, just maybe, a team like Canada could be a tournament team here and get out second place, which I honestly thought they had more than enough of an opportunity.
Meanwhile, let's focus on Group B. Of course, that will be played to a conclusion this evening. It's all about the Mexico game, isn't it, against Ecuador. Ali, how do you see this tie going?
Well, the truth is that Mexico has to win the match. And what we know from this version of Mexico is that they don't really trust themselves to win matches. They have difficulty seeing out results and being able to win games consistently. And so, look, Ecuador tying the game is enough. I don't think that would be the approach of Ecuador. I think the return of Ener Valencia will be important for them in the attack. But this is all about Mexico. Never mind Ecuador. Let's put them to the side. Ecuador is a team that obviously we expected them to do well. They lost to Venezuela in the opening match, so that's put some pressure on them. But talk about pressure. Mexico's got pressure coming from all sorts of different angles, and I just don't think, beyond all the pressure that all the media is putting on this team, that the fans are putting on this team, beyond all of that pressure, I just don't think they have good enough players. In the end, it comes down to whether you have enough talent, and this Mexican national team is short on talent. Yes, they're short on talent. They're no longer the dominant team in CONCACAF. This is a team that is going to struggle against Ecuador. Ecuador is going to struggle to get out of the group. I don't anticipate the best performance from Mexico, and they're going to need the very best out of themselves in order to advance out of this group.
Is Seb crying at the end of the night, Herc?
Strong possibility. Listen, Ali's not wrong when you talk about the talent pool. You look at these two rosters, Mexico, their goalkeeper has less than 5 caps, 5 international caps. Memo Ochoa was left at home. The guy who's supposed to replace him gets injured before the tournament. This is the third choice keeper at best in Julio Gonzalez. You look at what they have in the defensive line. Cesar Montes, their up-and-coming defender, who's been relegated the last 2 years in La Liga. He gets injured. He's not available for this game. You look at that midfield. There's no more Andres Guardado. There's no more Rafa Marquez stepping into that midfield. There's no more of these players that once were great players. It's a very limited pool. And up top, Santi Jimenez, for as many goals as he can score in the Eredivisie, going on 60 in 2 seasons, he can't find the back of the net with the Mexican national team. And maybe not to his fault. I mean, they don't supply him with enough. And when they do, he's not exactly sharp. So Ali's not wrong. And worst of all is Jimmy Lozano. Jimmy Lozano is the most green of them all. And he's the head coach. He took this team to the Olympics, got a bronze medal, and they thought that was good enough to give a coach with less than 2 seasons first-team experience the opportunity. And here you are, a must-win game, or they go home. And if they go home, you best believe Jimmy Lozano, the head coach, is next.
Herc and Ali, thank you very much. They'll be late home tonight because you've got ESPN FC Copa America special tonight. That'll be live with you at the full-time whistle of those games. Kay will be joined by Ali, Herc, Casey, and Shaka's not really awake at that time.
Has anybody told him?
Be sure to check it out. Extra time, as always, available over on our YouTube channel. Look, Frank just loves looking at himself. He's just there going, oh,
Look how small.
oh, look at that. Be sure to check that out on our YouTube channel.
Oh my God.
Spalletti will remain in charge of Italy. Of course, they were knocked out, weren't they, yesterday by Switzerland.